Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, as you all know, I'm at the Adobe Summit in London this week, but I suddenly realised that it was also No Passwords Day. So before eating, I ran back to my hotel room so we can speak with Ori Eisen. Now, he's the leader of the No Passwords revolution, so the ideal guest to talk about No Passwords today. Now, while other attendees at the summit are drinking and enjoying free food, I'm taking one for the team to get another show to you, and there is a very good reason for that. And that's because the founder and CEO has spent the last 20 years building technology to fight online crime and also create a safer internet, including working as a worldwide fraud detector at AMEX, and then founding and selling his first company called 41st Parameter to Experian for an incredible $324 million. Now, today's conversation is a must-listen for anyone on a startup journey or who just has a desire to make a lot of money and then retire sitting on a beach enjoying the good times. Because we discuss the need for everyone to have a purpose and how financial gain is not the answer. It's about having your own mission to make a difference. This one is an amazing story, and I've sacrificed free beer and food, so I think you should listen to this one. So buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Arizona on No Passwords Day, so we can speak with Ori Eisen about his inspirational story and finally killing the password. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and also what you do?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me, Neil. My name is Ori Eisen, and I'm the founder and CEO of Trusona. Jokingly, people say that I'm the VP of whatever it takes to win. I'm the leader of the No Passwords revolution. Our company is set out to eliminate all those pesky passwords that are out there because no one likes them. They're insecure. You have to remember them, maintain them, change them. And it so happens that today is World Passwords Day, and I wish we would one day celebrate World's No Passwords Day.
Oh man, amen to that. That sounds like music to my ears. But you also have a fantastic backstory that's going to inspire so many people listening on their own tech startup journey. Because you've spent 20 years building technology to fight online crime and create a safer internet, including working as a worldwide fraud director at AMEX and then founding and selling your first company, which was called 41st Parameter to Experian for an incredible $324 million. I mean, what were the big lessons that you learned from taking a company right from the founding stages through to selling it?
The most important lesson I would share is it takes time. When you invent something new, no matter how amazing it is and how favorable it is, it simply takes time. Yeah. I'll give you some examples like LASIK surgery. It's an amazing invention that, reduces the need to wear glasses, but it is not the moment you will introduce it to the world that everyone is going to jump on it and be first to try it. If people have any kind of worry or hesitation, they will wait until somebody else will try it. So if you're starting a company and you think about, well, how long should it take me to generate revenue? Or how long would it take a customer to sign up? My experience over the last 20 years say it always takes twice the amount of money you think it will and twice the amount of time you think it will.
So when you've completed a journey like that, it must be incredibly tempting, or for many people listening, it must sound tempting to spend the rest of your days walking your dog and seeing how many smiles you can collect walking along the beach. But do you think we all actually just need a purpose and something that makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning?
I absolutely do. I write about it on my own blog that I can share later on. The address is my name, orieisen.com. And there is a tab there for startups. I thought when I was young that making a lot of money and selling a company would lead me to this retirement on the beach and drinking, cocktails with umbrellas in them and smiling to everybody. But when I actually tried to do that, It was the most miserable existence I've ever had. I spent 4 months thinking about what I want to do when I grow up after I sold the company. and every day was miserable. And the reason is, if you are a thinking person, if you are a creative person, if you're a person who wants to build things, sitting and reading the newspaper or sitting and doing nothing on a beach is hurting you. It's not an existence you absolutely want. So I had to go through this process to realize that I don't care if I get paid or not. I want to be doing something for the world.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I think so many people strive just to make a lot of money than to sit back and do nothing, but it really isn't the answer. It reminds me of a Jim Carrey quote as well. I think he said, I think everyone should get rich and famous and do everything they've ever dreamed of, just so they can see that it's not the answer. I mean, it's so true, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And I know if you told me the same thing 20 years ago, I might have thought, oh yeah, you're saying it now because you're already after it. But I really have thought that when I was young. And now that I'm going through this phase and seeing it for real, I'll tell anybody who'd listen, it doesn't matter how much money you're going to make. At the end of the day, it's the number. Surely no one wants to struggle with paying the bills, but after a certain point, one of my mentors shared the advice. They said, your feet will never touch the bottom of the pool, which means when you enter a swimming pool, let's just say the water is up to your chest, you go deeper, deeper, and deeper, right? At one point, you're floating because you're exactly at the moment that you can't touch the bottom of the pool, right? You can't feel it. If that is an inch away from your feet or a mile, does it really matter? Or it's only in your head? That's what he meant. Like, after you make enough money to survive and thrive, making more of it is not going to make you any happier, because you're not going to eat 2 steaks instead of 1. You're not going to be driving 2 cars at the same time instead of 1. You're not going to live in 2 houses instead of 1. So it's only in our heads.
Absolutely. And thankfully you didn't retire to the beach, and Trusona is your newest endeavour. And like you said at the beginning of the show there, your mission is simply to eliminate passwords. So can you tell me a little bit more about the inspiration behind the company, and what made you want to set out there and remove passwords, and what put you on that journey?
Absolutely. In my earlier career, I was really good as a fraud detector, a fraud fighter. I used to write software that would essentially say, what is the likelihood that is indeed you paying this bill? And one day when I got to work, I asked my boss a simple question. I said, when we lose $10 million, where does it go? Who is using it? And for what purpose? And that day changed my life, because no longer I realized I'm just doing a favor to the company I work for to maintain, a good ratio of losses. I realized that the money that they steal from us goes to really, really, really bad causes, very nefarious causes like weapons and human trafficking and terrorism and even child pornography. And I realized, stopping those bad guys is my real mission. It's not just maintaining lower losses for the bank. So after 41st Parameter, when we developed a technology that could solve the problem 99% of the cases and then some, I realized that we've asked users, including our own parents, to secure themselves, to pick passwords. However, when you see what passwords people pick, I'm sure as a reporter you've heard this before, people pick password as their password. People pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm on a mission to eliminate that, because if we are securing our bank accounts and our health records and our society with very, very simple static keys, I think we all know that it's not going to lead to great things. So I'm here to say, let's remove passwords so the bad guys do not get funding.
And another fact as well, not just the security element, there's also, I believe, 40% of users that abandon a service completely once they've forgotten their password. But also my IT background makes me incredibly aware that a single sign-on solution also often causes more security and more compliance issues. So how do you approach these problems with Trusona?
We are recommending every SSO install to add the option of a no password login. And let me explain why. You're absolutely right. In the current scenario, we're asking employees to remember passwords for 90 days and then change them in the name of security. However, when you have malware that is already running inside your PC, it doesn't matter if you change the password to a stronger one or a weaker one, or you change it every 90 days or not. Any keylogger can just pick it up. So what are we doing? We're creating a situation that we are forcing humans to do something they never wanted to do, which is to be security experts and to pick long passwords. And at the same time, we know in our heart of hearts as security professionals, it's not helping. That's why 40% of people abandon it, because they're just frustrated. They don't want to celebrate World's Passwords Day. They want to celebrate World's No Passwords Day. Let computer do all the security stuff and let people just go through. And that's the mission we're on. We can't continue like this because passwords are something that was invented in the 60s. Tell me any other technology, Neil, that has not changed since 1964 until now that you still use. Tell me one.
No, it's so true. I also read that the product is so secure that Frank Abagnale, he was the real-life catch-me-if-you-can con artist who's now turned into a 4-decade FBI veteran. He signed on as an active advisor, but can you tell me more about why you wanted to get him involved and how persistent you were in getting his attention? Because I think it's a great story.
I worked with Frank Abagnale at my last company as well, 41st Parameter, because I think his methodologies and his knowledge are priceless when it comes to asking the question, is my solution really, really good? Not good in a lab with some techies, but good against real-life criminals, real-life con artists, real-life hackers that know how to beat the system. So the way I interact with Frank is I play chess with him, so to speak. I present to him what our solution does and ask him, if you were faced with this as a criminal, what would you do to it? And we go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until the day that he says, you know what, you've now secured it so well that even I could not crack it. That is the day that we declare victory, so to speak, and say we have a new product. The reason I was so persistent in meeting him is because he does not take any new customers and does not seek to have any new mentees. But I knew the value somebody like him could bring to the mission because he's the real deal. And I'm happy to say that we are now collaborating for the last 18 years. And I consider him one of my very, very good friends, even beyond our business relationship.
Now, it's easy to see why the industry needs to enable frictionless multi-factored authentication to protect users. But not only users, organisations and the internet itself. But how far are we actually away from that becoming a reality?
The reality could happen today because the technology is here. And in fact, part of Trusona's mission is to do good in the world. We have a hashtag we call No Passwords for Good, where if you're an organization that is going to use it with consumers, we literally give you our software for free because we believe in the mission of seeing a world without passwords. So anybody listening to this podcast can just go ask for the SDK or use our app, which is in the App Store, and hooking it up to their website. It's as simple as that. However, we live in a society that there's not a lot of emphasis on security yet because we haven't suffered the consequences of insecurity. So for that reason alone, I worry that the reality of living in a world without passwords would simply take longer. To give you an example, in the United States, up until the horrible events of 9/11, there was no organization called the TSA. We weren't asked to be screened at the airport and so forth. It required a real disaster, a real catastrophe for people to realize that just keep doing what we're doing is not going to work and bad guys are going to, circumvent the systems. I believe that an E9/11 is something that is going to happen. And after that, unfortunately, we will all take this more seriously. But I want to see a world without passwords today if we can. And again, I realize that it will take time just because people may not jump in as soon as the technology is ready.
Now, you have been on a fantastic journey, and I know you've wrote about this on your blog, and we'll put the link to that blog on the show notes too, just so people can read about that. But I've got to ask, what are the things that you wish someone told you when you first started your career and you created your first company? Are there any particular lessons you learned along the way that you just wish someone could have given you advice so you didn't make those mistakes?
Yeah, that absolutely yes. For that reason, I want to leave the world a better place. So I'm writing about that specifically for young entrepreneurs. So we will make the blog I'm writing available. There's about 12 major lessons that I've learned. For example, how to think about product market fit, how to balance your life. If you stay at work every day for 12 hours and never spend time with your kids or your loved ones, you're going to be in a situation that you cannot thrive. I write about, how do you pick a CEO on the day that you realize you want to bring somebody to help you? I write about focus. So let me give one quick lesson. For all of us who've been children and played with a magnifying glass to burn, paper or whatever, we knew that the only way to do it is to focus the sun rays and be patient, right? Sit there and wait until it catches on fire. And I use that example because so many young entrepreneurs either are not focused, so they can spend all the time in the world and they will never create fire, if you may, or the demand in the market. And the other mistake many make is they're super laser focused. However, they move the magnifying glass because they say, oh, I want to be successful in banking and in healthcare and in insurance and in media. And because they don't spend enough resources and focus in any given point, again, it doesn't catch on fire. So advice like this to me would be priceless if I got it when I was early. But as I went through my career, I learned to focus on one thing at a time, be super simple. Just like I said to you, I want to remove passwords from the internet. It's that simple. And don't look left and don't look right until it catches on fire.
And I think that lesson is more important than ever before, especially because we're living in a time of instant gratification now where people don't want to wait and they just want the answers, they want the solutions straight away. But unfortunately, life isn't like that. So what's next for Trusona? Is there anything else you can share with us today about the mission that you're on?
We are going to present next week in California at a show called Finovate. We will announce our next product, so I don't mind that your listeners get a sneak preview into what it is. We have added the ability to scan documents like a driver license or a passport that will further help logins without passwords, and this time with more identity proofing. To go back to your point about single sign-ons and how it creates compliance issues, many hackers call a company's help desk and say, hi, I'm one of your employees and my computer doesn't work. I need some help. And they only do it as part of a social engineering attack to learn more about the company. So what if the company could say, hey, if you claim to be, Neil as one of our employees, why don't you download the Trusona app and scan real quickly your driver license in there or your passport, and Trusona will help verify that indeed you are the employee that you claim to be. So it's adding another layer to demystify who is who on the internet. If you know that famous cartoon from the New Yorker with the two dogs that one says to the other, on the internet, no one knows you're a dog. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't know what you mean.
So we're trying to demystify that and help companies be more secure by knowing the true persona or the Trusona.
So can you remind, before I let you go, can you remind the listeners of where they can find you online, the URL of your startup blog, and also contact you or your team if they have any questions about anything that we've talked about today?
Yeah, if there's any questions about Trusona, just simply go to the Trusona.com website and there's a contact us link. And Neil, I'm sending you my blog for startups. It's simply my name, orieisen.com/startup. Or if you just go to orieisen.com, on the top there's a startup advice tab. And again, I've tried to write, and I keep writing about all the questions I get repeatedly from young entrepreneurs. So this information is readily available if anybody wants to use it.
Excellent. Well, I'll add all those links to the show notes just so anybody listening can just click on them and get straight to you guys. And I love your motto there, or your mission is just to stop the bad guys. That's become your mission. I've got to ask before I let you go, does that involve a superhero outfit at all, or does that come later?
If you would ever catch me at one of the hacker shows like Black Hat or DEF CON, you will get the answer to that. But in daytime, I'm a simple executive. At nighttime, I try to do good in the world in my own ways.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate how busy you are. And one of the things that I love about you more than anything is it's not just about your journey. It's about giving back and actually helping others that are at the beginning of theirs. And I think that's so important and incredibly noble of you. So a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story today.
Neil, thank you so much. I'm so happy that we got a chance to talk and be on the show. And if you get any questions or feedback from listeners, we're here to help.
So many big takeaways for me from today's episode. I mean, while we all commiserate and recognise passwords are the bane of our online existence, it's so important to remember that this is the only technology from the 60s that hasn't changed and we still use today. Now, Ori's approach isn't just about ending the use of passwords. It's about finding a safer and simpler replacement that genuinely reinvents authentication in the modern era. But there is a huge life lesson here about longing and yearning for money too. Because let's remember, Ori sold his first company, 41st Parameter, to Experian for $324 million, but needed that purpose to get out of bed in the morning. In the exact same way that Jim Carrey said he wished everyone could be rich and famous just to understand that it isn't the answer. Imagine how free we could all be if we learnt that lesson. I mean, sure, we all have money worries, and if we get ill, we suddenly can't pay our bills, and there's just so much stress that can cause. But making a great deal of money, it might make all those worries go away. That is a tremendous gift. But once you have everything your heart desires, you also have a different set of problems. You need that reason to jump out of bed in the morning, and we all need our own mission. Huge lessons in this episode for me. And as for passwords, I hope Trusona is that alternative. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. So as always, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, email me at techblogwriter@outlook.com, and I hope for now you'll allow me to go and get something to eat. So a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.